Hello, welcome back. We are covering Chapter 4 today, but I'm going to do a quick review of what we've covered so far. In Chapter 1, we learned about customer relationship management and are able to describe some of the common uses and applications of CRM, understand some of the origins, and describe 4 market orientations. Again, these are the 4 different types. They have different uses and a lot of times different backgrounds, and different people are working on different aspects of this. And therefore, when you ask what CRM is, different people from these different disciplines will talk about it in different ways. Origins of CRM, we started to see it in the early 1990s, and it has grown into a much bigger beast that combines these different types of CRM. And these are the marketing orientations that we talked about. And as we continue through this semester, we should become more comfortable with this definition. CRM is the core business strategy that integrates internal processes and functions and external networks to create and deliver value to targeted customers at a profit. It is grounded on high quality customer related data and enabled by information technology. So that takes the 4 different types of CRM and builds it into a strong definition. In Chapter 2, we talked about relationships. And out of that chapter, we should have been able to describe the positive outcomes of customer retention, talk about 2 types of loyalty, and recognize that there are separate schools of thought on CRM. These are the positive outcomes from keeping customers that you have earned and trying to minimize how many customers leave. These are the 2 different types of loyalty and the different schools of thought on CRM. So in Chapter 4 today, we're going to talk about the early stages of coming up with ways to build, manage, and use CRM databases. Our goals here are to identify the process required to develop a CRM database, understand the importance of various customer-related information fields and what they can be used for, and identify information sources that we can use to populate a CRM. So if we look at these steps, we need to define first what the database is going to be doing, define what information requirements are going to be. So whether that is the format that they're going to be in, what kind of information that you want, figure out where you're going to get that information, select the database technology and hardware platform, populate the database, and then maintain and upkeep the database. So if we go back to the 4 different types of CRM, we need to figure out whether it is one of the 4 of these or a combination. So again, strategic needs customer-related data to identify which customers to target for growing the business. Operational needs customer-related data to help in everyday running of the business, so more the IT side. Analytical uses customer-related data to support marketing, sales, and service decisions that create value for customers. And then collaborative uses operational and analytical data to align distribution channels to serve end consumers. So if we're talking about operational, which is also denoted by the acronym OLTP, if we have an example, a telecom's customer service representative needs access to a customer record when she receives a telephone query. So you have a problem and you have called Charter and they pull up your account. Oh, I see that you have this, this, and this. What seems to be the problem? Another example, a hotel receptionist needs access to a guest's history so that she can reserve the preferred type of room, smoking or non-smoking, standard or deluxe. So you're probably not on the phone with this person, but they have sent a request for you to reserve their usual type of room. So someone pulls it up, reserves it for the dates, and moves on. Another example, a salesperson might need to check a customer's payment history to find out whether the account has reached the maximum credit limit to see if they can take out more credit or if they need to pay before buying any more products. Some analytical examples. So going back to these same examples, but rather than operational, looking at them from an analytical point of view, say the telecoms company might want to target a retention offer to customers who are signaling an intention to switch to a different supplier. So that might look like somebody calling and saying, hey, I have a problem. Also, I'd like to cancel now. So right in that moment on the phone call, there might be a method or a process to send them to customer retention, which is an entire department all on its own. And customer retention might have analytical things going on in the CRM that might alert them to people who are thinking about switching. So they may even look to see how many times someone has called with issues, how many times someone has reset their system, whether they are using their system less over time. The hotel company might want to promote a weekend break to customers who have indicated their complete delight in a previous customer satisfaction survey. A lot of times those are supposed to be anonymous, but if they're not, they might say, hey, thanks for filling this out. Here's a coupon code. So that could be, I guess, anonymous or not, just with the code. The receipts that you get from fast food that have a number that you can call on the back. The piece of paper itself is not a CRM, but presumably you could have every receipt that is ever printed out have its own unique code on the back for that survey. And when you enter in that code, they know exactly what receipt it goes to. So they could identify what store, what time it happened, what was ordered, and then connect that with the customer satisfaction survey. And then at the end of the call, give them a coupon code that they can use next time, which the coupon code could also be unique and connected to that person, that receipt, that time. So if there was a receipt that you got, you called, it had a unique code, you got a new unique code, and the next time they use it, they might be able to tell that there's an individual that continues to fill out these surveys. So they might just be a type, or they might get somebody new, and they can track some of that using unique codes. A sales manager might want to compute his sales representative's customer profitability given the level of service that is being provided. So this is actually really common in sales, and this is what Salesforce is used for quite a bit, because rather than just a salesperson entering all of their stuff into a computer and then they're the only ones that have access to it, Salesforce is used to create visibility across the entire sales staff. So a sales manager might pull up a dashboard and have various salespeople's stats on it because they're recording when they go on a sales call, what was said, what's the next steps, and those are filtered through the system. You can also see how many sales have been closed, how many did the customer kind of back out in the middle versus making it to negotiation and you just barely lost the bid, that kind of thing. So those can be controlled in dashboards. Going through the Salesforce stuff in this class, you're going to see some of those dashboards and some of the information that you can use in Salesforce. So you can also combine operational and analytical functions. So you can use online transaction processing. So any purchases that you make online, that's going through a CRM sort of process. And it's a really good idea to keep these updated frequently, to keep them up to date, and also make sure if you end up with duplicate accounts that those either get taken care of or merged in some sort of way. So say that a firm is using Shopify, which is how smaller operations are able to sell things online. They can use that just to be able to sell things online and be able to accept credit cards. But there's also an analytical side of that where if you pull up the Shopify statistics, they keep track of how people got to your website, which pages they visited while they were there, whether they put things in their cart, how long those things stayed in their cart, whether they bought everything that was in their cart. So it's taking this more operational side and looking at the other sorts of data and other things that you can capture to try to gain insights from that. Okay, and the reason this does not need to be as up to date is because over here it's important because if you're charging people's credit cards, you want that all to be accurate and you want to make sure nothing is messed up. Over here on the analytical side, we're really more looking for patterns of behavior, and it would be useful to know which customer that aligns with, but that's not as important as drawing conclusions from their behavior. And so if we don't have it quite as up to date, that's okay. Then the next step is defining information requirements. So if we decided that we would like the contact information of people who shop on our website, at the very least, we're probably going to want their email address so we can send them receipts, send them deals, so on and so forth. If we're shipping something to them, we're going to want their address. So these are some things that we want. So these are, contact data, whoops, sorry, I clicked on it. These are the types of fields that we might want when thinking about contact data for who are we contacting. This gatekeepers here. If we are in sales, we might have a contact that is an organization, but under that organization, we have various people, and we're going to want to know what their roles are. And if we are trying to get a hold of a project engineer or somebody who is a decision maker, but more understanding of the project itself rather than upper level CEO decision sorts of decision makers, and even for the CEOs, there are going to be gatekeepers, and these are likely going to be administrative staff or secretaries or something like that. We are going to want to know how to get through those gatekeepers, and sometimes that means talking to them, and sometimes it means bypassing them. So it's a good idea to have the role of whoever this contact person is, but also knowing who the gatekeeper is and being able to establish and maintain that relationship as well. Inside of the CRM, you've got your contact, but you're also going to want to know when did you communicate with that person or company, what was communicated last time, who specifically did you talk to, who talked to them, was it you or someone else from your customer or your company, and what were the next steps? What was the outcome? Did you say, hey, I'll call you back in 6 months? Well, probably you want to be notified that that needs to happen. And I'm going to use an example here. So say that we are a CRM for Charter Communications, so the internet service provider around this area. The other one in this area is AT&T, and I think we now have Starlink. But for the longest time, it was just Charter. And if you had Charter, you also had issues with Charter. And so I would often call them to either say, hey, I'm almost up on my deal, I would like a new deal, or hey, I'm just going to switch to basically nothing. So if I am calling with a problem, say my internet has gone out and I would like to know what's up. So I call them. They're going to want to know, hey, okay, what's your name? What's your account number? So I can pull it up. And they're going to get a screen that has that information, probably also my billing information, whether I'm current on paying my bill, whether I have called about certain problems in the past. There will be a variety of fields on there. What would be extremely useful is if the person that I'm talking to when I first call, hey, this is my problem. I outlined the problem. Here are the details of my problem. And then the person's like, oh, well, actually, I'm going to send you over to this other person, and they are the ones that solve that problem. What is most helpful is if that person types in what I said, hey, this is the problem this person is having. I'm forwarding them on to so-and-so. And then when they make that connection and forward me to the next person, if the person answering the phone read that, that would be great. But instead I say, hi, this is my problem. I repeat my problem again, even though I just told this person who I heard typing, I'm saying it again. And that person's like, ooh, well, did you try this? Did you restart your computer? Did you, all of the troubleshooting things I've already tried. And they're like, oh, well, that means I need to escalate your problem to so-and-so. Okay, so they type what I tried. I tried turning it off and back on again, yada, yada, yada. This is what happened. And now I'm escalating it to so-and-so. And then I sit on hold for a while. If while I was on hold, this person could read the things that I've tried already, then I wouldn't have to say, hi, my problem is problem, repeat the problem. The person I talked to last had me do this, this, and this. Here's my problem. They have all of the information that has just been typed. Everything's been kind of sent through the system, and I'm still talking about my problem. Completely unnecessary, and yet we still have this. So anyways, hopefully now you will be as frustrated as I always am when I call customer service places. Or finally they'll fix it. Okay, Moving on to transactional history, I'm going to move to a different example. We're going to do Meijer and Meijer's M-Perks or Kroger's Kroger card. So when you fill out for these loyalty programs, you're going to give them some of this contact data. Probably don't have a whole lot of contact history. I can't imagine why you would. I don't often call M-Perks for any reason. I just scan my number or put it in. So what they're going to keep track of is every time you enter your loyalty number, they're going to also bring in all of the goods that you're purchasing and keep track of what you purchased, when you purchased it, probably what cash register you used, who was running that cash register, what time of day it was, all of this stuff. They're keeping track of all of this stuff. And then I have one of the Meijer booklets upstairs. They use that information to put together special offers for you. And so they'll send you a book of just for you. And inside the book is deals for things that you buy or things that go well with things that you buy. And the idea is that they would like to get you to come in the store rather than doing delivery or pickup or something like that. And that maybe you'll come back sooner because you've got a coupon for something that you maybe normally buy, but you forgot or something else. So they have special deals that they send to you. They could, if they'd like to do a bit of an experiment, send one type of booklet of one style with certain kinds of deals to some customers, and then another booklet with different kinds of deals, maybe better deals, to other customers, and see if, do the people who got this booklet act more or less than the people who got this booklet. And they can tell because when you go back to the store and use the coupon or redeem the deal, that's connected to your M-Perks number, and they can run an analysis on, well, if we style the booklet this way, or if we make the deals just a teensy bit better, people are more likely to redeem them or come in. And not only are they looking at what you are redeeming or whether you use the booklet or not, when you use that coupon, what else did you buy, and did it lead to a greater value of purchases in the store? Because probably you're not going for just the 50 cents off mushrooms that coupon booklet got you to go in for. So yes, they want you to redeem the deal, but not because they want you to save money. They want you in the store so you save money, but spend money on other things while you are there. Okay, so that's that example. Current pipeline is going to be more relevant to internal sales stuff. So what prospects do your current sales staff have? What stage are they in? So say, for example, if you've had my personal selling class, this stuff will make a lot more sense, but I'll see if I can do a little bit here. So let's say we start with a list of customers. We've never met these people. We bought a list somewhere, and we're going to call all of these people and say, hey, I'm company and I'm selling this. I'm wondering if you would like to set up a conversation so we can talk about what I'm offering. Some of those people are going to say, heck no, I don't want to talk to you at all, ever. Where'd you get my number? And maybe some people will say yes. So a small percentage of people will move into the next stage. And then out of those people that you have meetings with, some of them will leave, and then some of them will stick with you, and you'll enter more of a negotiation phase. And by the time you get to the end of what we call the funnel, some of those people will actually make a purchase. So what stage of that relationship versus them leaving and getting out of town are we in? Okay, so current pipeline and opportunities kind of goes in the same sort of thought. So what deals are we currently working on is really the same thing as like what prospects do we have. But in terms of pipeline, you can assign a probability of a deal making it to the end and someone making a purchase. These percentages are typically pretty arbitrary. And it's based on historical transactions that salespeople have had. So of the of the contacts that make it to that second call or are qualified and you're talking to them, how many of those on average or percentage wise typically make it to the next stage? What percentage of those people make it to the next stage? So you can use your CRM to refeed your CRM and make updates and have those percentages update and become more accurate. You can also keep track of the value of each opportunity. So say that I have talked to a lead, I kept them for a second meeting, we are talking about how much they're going to buy, and the value of the opportunity is in dollars. So how much in dollars is this deal worth? I'm planning on selling them 100 widgets at $100 a piece. 100 times 100 ends up being my value. And then you can take that times the probability of closing, and that is the value of the deal in its current state, which is completely arbitrary and actually how people do it, even though it's kind of ridiculous. You can also include products in the CRM. We can go back to our Meyer example here. What products did the customer buy and how long should they last before they should probably buy another one? So if it's cereal, how long do they go between buying cereal at a time? And can we time our deals to be like, oh, they should be buying cereal soon, or they should have bought cereal already. If they're not buying it, either they stopped buying cereal or they're buying it somewhere else. Let's send them a deal for cereal, the cereal that they usually buy. Or other complementary products that we can offer a deal on. So like milk or fruit to put in your cereal. And can we put that all on a single page of like, here's your cereal, some fruit you can put in it, and also milk. And here's a deal for those things. You can also keep track of whether they have had issues. So if they stopped buying something after they had an issue, you can reach out and say, hey, I noticed that you bought this and you stopped buying it and you had called. I was just calling to check up on whether there's anything that we can do. So on and so forth. You can also keep track of their communication preferences. I tend to prefer that people communicate with me by text and that robots communicate with me by email because that's so easy to ignore. But you can keep track of this too. And emails that you get from brands. If you go to unsubscribe, they will first ask you, well, are we just emailing you too much? Are there certain things you would like to hear about and we're just being kind of annoying? And this is where you would set some of those communication preferences, and then they should follow them. Okay, once you know what kind of data you want in your CRM, then you have to figure out where you're going to get it. It is essential that if you have access to the data already, you probably shouldn't go buy that same information again or go collect it again. See if you have sources internally to the company that'll get you the data that you need. So you can get these from marketing, so historical marketing programs, and if they kept track of what worked, what didn't work. You can get them from sales, past sales, so past actual like receipts or records of receipts and things like that. Customer service interactions, from finance, the website will keep track of tons of stuff in the background, loyalty programs, and warranty registrations. So see what you already have. If you don't have a CRM in place at all or any way to collect even customer information, like who's been in your store and who has made purchases from your store, it's a good idea to start collecting that information. So if you are a small boutique and you just sell people stuff and you have no record of who that person was, you will likely have a record if they are using credit cards. So you at least have their name. But the first thing that companies like this will usually do is set up some sort of loyalty program to get the person's name and at least their email address, and then you can start keeping track of what purchases they're making. That's kind of just the very, very baseline basics of say, a small business starting a CRM. If there's stuff that you cannot get internally or don't have internally, you can enhance data that you have internally with external, and you can get that from companies like Claritas, Data Axle, Experian, There's another one that I just started using too that I actually like better. I can't recall right now what it's called. I may have mentioned it in a past lecture. You can also get data that is publicly available, so you don't have to pay for it through census data and other government websites. You can also buy data that the companies have put together and already analyzed for you, and the syndicated stuff is going to cost money.